For more, let's bring in Dennis Unkovic. He is a partner at Meyer, Unkovic and Scott. Dennis, and does a lot of business in China and that part of the world. Dennis, welcome and Happy New Year. Good to see you.
Happy New Year, Tyler. Thank you.
If President Trump puts either new tariffs on Chinese goods or raises the tariffs that are already there, you say that Xi Jinping will retaliate. How will he do that? And I got to think that one of the ways he might is to put more and more restrictions on critical minerals that are very, very important to, for example, the making of batteries for U.S.-made EVs.
You're right. They're called REEs. And those REEs are they are really not unusual. You can find them in many parts of the world, Tyler. But the key thing is in Jiangxi province, which is about 500 miles north of Hong Kong, that's where they refine all these minerals. And that's where the Chinese in the last couple of days have said, we're going to put a halt on these products that have a dual use, a military and a commercial use. And the Chinese will not back down. I think Xi Jinping is getting ready for a fight with incoming President Trump.
And let's keep on this theme here. If the new president of the United States comes in and puts more tariffs on, is he likely to increase tariffs on U.S. imports into China? Or what will his first line of defense be?
I think his
How will he
first line of
prosecute the
defense,
fight?
I think he wants to limit the key elements going into the U.S. for the companies. I think if Trump comes up with a 30% tariff tomorrow, then the next day the Chinese will have their own 30%. Xi Jinping is in total control of the Chinese economy, and he will not back down to Donald Trump. So I do not foresee a very clear road going forward.
Steve?
So, Dennis, he might not want to back down to Donald Trump, but it reminds me of the Cuban Missile Crisis. You don't think that he will blink first, but there's been some analogies made to Japan and China being in a deflationary spiral where Japan lost 25 years. Do you see those similarities to China being in a deflationary spiral as well?
Yes and no. Basically, no, because Japan has about 185 million people. China has 10 times as many people. There are multiple levels in China where Xi Jinping can put pressure on, particularly on foreign companies that are doing business there. And I think that is really why Xi Jinping is much more of a challenge than it was with the Japanese. Do I see a deflationary economy in China? I think this year will be worse in growth than it was in 2024, but I don't see any significant value added because of that.
Dennis, it's Karen. Thanks for being on. When you see this sort of tit for tat ratchet up, where does the U.S. threaten to withhold grain sales to China? How do you think this escalates?
I don't know what President Trump's going to do. My guess is that on a broad spectrum, he will immediately raise tariffs as soon as he gets in. That will essentially target those industries that have technologies that the U.S. considers to be of a national security thing. As a result, that's why China yesterday took Boeing, Lockheed, and Raytheon and said, we're not going to sell any parts coming out of China on a dual-use basis. And so I don't see a reason for either side to back off immediately. A lot of it depends on President Trump.
Before we get on to trading this, I don't want to leave this topic without talking Taiwan very briefly. What do you expect to happen there? And is it a 2025 issue? Is it a 2027 issue, which I increasingly am hearing, that is where the real confrontation may come?
If Taiwan was invaded by China, Tyler, I believe that would set off a global catastrophe. I don't think that Xi Jinping is strong enough now with an economy that's growing between 4 and 5% to essentially shut down the economy to take Taiwan. I do think that he is determined that China will eventually take Taiwan. Now, whether it's 27 or 28, I don't know, but it's not 2046, which is the 100th anniversary of the CCP. So I see it probably in the next several years.